From bartender to broker owner to being slave to the business, to not having enough time for her friends, for her family, just for herself, to now being able to find freedom through the business, being able to help agents across the country and her state. Our first guest to the Journey podcast by Collected Closers, we welcome and we share Courtney Goree's story. I hope that through the story, you're able to find maybe something that you are looking for, or maybe just find a great idea that you can share with someone else. So make sure that you subscribe, you like, you comment, and also share with more business owners because we want to make sure that we're connecting with as much business owners as we can. All right, and we are officially in our first episode of The Journey by Collected Closers. And we have a really special guest today with us, which to me, I am so happy and just grateful that you were able to make the time for us today because I got to see you speak at Pactivate, which is a company that we both belong in. And I got to tell you, it was something that I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I've have heard about and seen your name through like our Slack channel, but I did not imagine that you were gonna have a huge impact like how you did when you were done. I was like, man, I have to connect with you, and I'm so happy that we did. And now look at this. We're doing our first episode, or you're helping us launch our first episode of this great podcast that I know is gonna touch a lot of people, is gonna help a lot of people. So again, Courtney, thank you very much for being here. The whole team was excited. I shared a little bit of your social media, and everyone was just excited to get to hear you now in this format. And yeah, it's welcome, and thank you for taking time to be here with us.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited. I same had heard a little bit about you through Jose Bonilla and just, our community. And so I've heard really great things about you, and being able to meet you in person was great. And thank you so much for the positive feedback. It was a great event. So I'm hoping to share some of those takeaways and just go deeper into kind of my journey and where I'm at and the growth that I've gone through.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I want to just want us to jump right into it because one thing that caught my attention a lot was something that you said. And you know what? I think that most of the viewers that we're gonna be collecting along the way through this journey of the journey podcast is gonna be people that either A are already in business, or B, they're thinking about getting into business, or C, they are in business but they're thinking of giving up. And you know what? When I was hearing your story, and then especially how you were describing how you decided to believe in yourself, to me that was something that I connected with because I remember at one point I was there as well. So let's just jump a little bit into that. So if you could tell us just a little background of who you are, so that way our viewers can get to know you a little bit more, who you are, where you come from. I mean, where you located. I know you're in Denver, Colorado, but the rest, I mean, the floor is yours.
Okay. Yes. So my name's Courtney Goree. I am a mom of two beautiful daughters, and I really, in part of my journey, and what I'll share more of is, being a mom. My daughters are now a little bit older, so I'm finally at the point where I really feel like I can put more into myself and also my business, which is like just part of being going through motherhood. I was a very young mom, so finding all of those things out about myself. But so that's a huge part of my life. I also enjoy, connecting with other people and learning new things from every single person that you meet, or trying to, just have that perspective to just like a bigger picture of things. So I really enjoy doing that, meeting new people, and the goal is to learn something new every day, continue to be a learner, in life, and continue to be that student. So that's and hopefully in that sharing some things that I've learned along the way that have helped me. So yeah.
Yeah, and just so people know, right? You're in the real estate business, right? That's what you've been doing for how long have you been doing real estate or practicing real estate?
Yeah, going on 9 years. And so I'm the broker for PAC here in Colorado. And I've been with this pack now for 2 years, 2.5 years almost. And I've really stepped into my leadership, and just like a lot can change in a short amount of time. It really just depends on who you're around and your mindset and your like really how much you believe in yourself. And I think just knowing who you are is like a big part of that. And what I share a lot is it can be a short amount of time, or it might take you longer. It really is just like it's your journey, and being clear on that and having a vision of where you want to go, being around the right people. Um, but real estate, has its ups and downs. And I've been at different brokerages, and it's really like when you make that decision to go all in on yourself and believe in yourself, that you can really start to see those changes happen.
Now, you said something right now that I think is key for everyone. You said your life can change uh, fast, right? Your life can change, or just you can have a turnaround of wherever it is that you're in right now. Your life can give
Yeah.
you for the best or for the worst, right? It can give a whole entire turn. So, what does that mean to you, though? Because I mean, I get that. Like, there's a lot of people out there right now that they're probably feeling frustrated. So this is where we try to give as much as possible through this mean of us connecting with people. What had to happen, or like how we like to say it, right? So through collective closers, which is the community that we have, and the community for where us we use it to impact the lives of people is uh in order for you to become a closer, you first have to close yourself. So closing begins within us. So, in the way that we can describe that to the public is like at one point you had to sell yourself on a dream or on a belief that then led into you then changing your life or going into that direction. So, when you mentioned how fast your life can turn, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, I think for me, and that's so beautiful what you shared. I love that. For me, even being in real estate for 9 years, and I've been in brokerage operations for very large real estate companies. In the very beginning of my career, I didn't really have the structure or systems put in place. I wasn't in a community where those very basic things are taught, to actually grow a business. And I think that, especially in real estate, as an agent, when you get in, you're very hopeful, you're so excited, but it's like you are your own boss and you're creating a career, and you really have to treat it that way. And so I just say that because even probably 6 or 7 years into being an agent, I think I was still kind of like really lost. Like I was doing it, but it wasn't probably done in the best way where I could really scale it. It was kind of like I was just things were happening and luck was happening, and I was getting clients, but when you're operating in that type of way, it's really hard to scale, and then you're just only waiting for like your next closing. Um, and so for me, it was really the moment, and people will, want to know like what was that moment that some people will share their story, and it's like this day that something major happened, and I just share from my perspective like major things can go on in your life, and it might not still like be the wake up point, or it might not really be that one thing. But for me, it was really like looking around at my life. And it was like I was on autopilot all the time, really just doing what I had to do to get the next client. And then it's like on to the next one. And as I think my daughters were getting older, I was like, wow, like time is passing so fast. And like they're older now. My life is in a different place. I'm obviously more mature, and I'm just so much happened. And then it was really though, I was sitting there and like I had to figure out who I was and just take like really seriously because I had said it many times before, I think we'll make a goal or we'll set a standard for ourselves, but we fall back into our old habits. And so really it was making that decision that I knew that it was inside of me. I could feel it, many signs happening around me, but I really just had to choose me, and that takes work of like inner work to do, things to face that aren't always the happiest and all the glamorous things. It's really like figuring out who you are.
So when you were running the business, you were selling real estate, or you were acting as a broker? How did your day to day look like from that old corny to like the new one, right? How if you could describe it in a way? So I'll give you an
Mm-hmm.
example, right? Like I have met a lot of people that come in from a another job. They're either part time, and then they go into the real estate business, and it's difficult. And now I'm gonna share a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
my scenario. It took me years for me to believe on letting my other job go because I was always afraid of what if I don't make it, right? But then I was always fighting with myself every single time I was going to my full time job. I was like, man, I could do a lot better for me. So for you, how did that look like? What was your day like normally when you were living on your lowest self, you could say, right? And then into then evolving into who you are now.
Yeah, so previously, really as an agent, just like a brand new agent, I didn't have structure. I wasn't even taking like now, like I stick to a schedule. Well, try and have a schedule, um, make sure that, I'm working on my mindset, prospecting, and skill set. So I would say now it's very structured. As a brand new agent, like I was like doing random things, I didn't even have like a vision. I was doing random things. Some days I wouldn't even be doing any real estate. And so I think that's the hard part as a brand new agent or, a newer agent, even 3, 4 years in, you have to be very structured, and take this job very seriously. So then I got into brokerage operations of real estate. And honestly, that was a moment where I wanted the salary, the guaranteed, right? Like had my real estate license and I was doing well, but I wanted, or I thought that that's what I wanted. It was probably a little bit of safety as an only mom. I was like, okay, well, I can do this. I'll have a set salary. And so it felt safe. And then learned that I just wasn't happy doing that. I was at my desk all day, every day. And so I had no time to even focus on doing much real estate sales as an agent. And that's when I knew something had to change. I wasn't happy. But I really, I didn't know what that was gonna be. And I met Jose Bonilla, who's one of our leaders here and a friend of yours. And it all like started opening up, obviously, with just the mindset shift. Like, I think that was the first time that I really understood that it's like the personal work you have to do and it's a direct reflection of your business. And if you're feeling stuck, if you're, feeling like you're just waking up every day and it's like the same thing, then that's when I made the decision to like figure that out. And so now I feel like I have a life work balance now, I like to say. We all want to have a work life balance, right? But we can, put too many expectations on ourselves, or I realize like it's very important to me to have family time. So I want to have life work balance. And so now I feel like I have freedom. I feel like my day to day is, although I have more freedom, like it's in more control because I'm the one that is really controlling that or setting my schedule with just like, what I'm choosing to say yes to or what I'm choosing to say no to. And, back to knowing who you are. If you don't know who you are, then you're going to be saying yes to everything. You start doing things and then you realize that it doesn't even align with what you want or what you believe in or the people that you are maybe spending time with now because you said yes to this. And now all of a sudden you're like, I don't know what's going on, I don't know how I got here. So that just goes back to knowing who you are.
So it's interesting that you're touching that topic, and I'm actually really happy you're doing that because I do believe that there's a lot of new agents that are gonna be watching this show, and something that is gonna sound confusing to them. You were uh, doing broker activities, so how does it make sense from going from doing broker activities to now operate in a different way? I mean, because according to the playbook, right, or according to what people are used to, is you go get your real estate license. Maybe you're part of a team or you're mentoring with someone, right? Then you go and then you get your broker license. Then you go and you open up your office, and then you go do what you went away from doing, which I know for a lot of people. And this is a conversation that I had multiple times with agents. I'm like, hey, look, business has evolved, and even though right now I mean, you can do great as a broker, the money is in knowing who you are, doing what it is that you're good at, making sure you maximize your profits, and then apart from that, understanding that the sky's the limit. But so describe the difference, like help give someone, I guess, the magic pill, like give someone like the way for them to maybe stop thinking that direction of eventually becoming a broker. And how do you create that, especially with someone watching that may have kids? This could potentially save someone 10, 20 years of something that they're working towards that might not even make sense.
Yeah, yeah. Just being, pulled in so many different directions, and sometimes things look really great. And I'll just say, like, from the management level, you have a ceiling and you're working for somebody else ultimately, that company, which I am the managing broker for Pat Colorado, but the difference is with the brokerage setup, I have so much more flexibility. It's not the old school model where the management or the managing broker isn't in production. We're production based, so I'm still doing my production and doing broker activities and helping new agents, teaching classes. So I feel like now I have like that perfect type of position that I ultimately created, you know? And so I'm very blessed for that. And back to being a mom, something that I had to learn, and if it can help someone, I think especially as a mom and a female real estate agent, we have a lot of nurturing and emotions that we can sometimes let overpower our career, or it could affect parts of like our real estate clients. And so you really have to be able to learn that balance. And for me, that might, and for you, anyone listening, that might look different. But so if you know kind of what you're wanting, trying to align yourself with being as true to yourself as possible, you can make that work for yourself. You just need to be around the right people. But as a mom, when or a father, with little ones, you want to be at all the soccer games, you want to be at all of the school events. And I had to learn to pick and choose what are going to be the most impactful. If I'm trying to go to every single event and trying to run my real estate business, I'm probably not putting in the best effort on either one. So how can I kind of change my schedule to, okay, I know this block is completely about real estate, and I know this day is going to be about my kids. And so having like a structure like that was helpful. And then not don't feel guilty when there are things that you can't go to. But that was helpful for me. And now that my kids are a little bit older, they're more independent. And so I have more flexibility to focus on my business. So especially parents with small kids, just giving yourself that grace that you can't be everywhere, you can't do everything, but try and put in some systems, put in some processes that are going to make it flow easier for you. That way you can put, the most time when you are with your kids, all of your time and effort when you're on a listing appointment, because it's no fun and it's stressful when you're at a listing appointment and your mind is somewhere else. You're wondering, did the kids get picked up
But
from
but
school? So,
but Courtney, like I don't get it. I mean, real estate is supposed to be the get your time back. What are you describing? It sounds like slavery, right?
yeah.
So and I'm making a joke
Yeah,
about it, right? But
no,
that's the
yeah, that's
reality.
why,
That a lot of
yeah,
times, like
that's why I got into real estate. Yeah, so I was a bartender before I got into real estate. And I knew like I was making really good
got it.
money. Um, I just was working late nights. So in the mornings I was tired and like I have to wake up and get the kids ready for school. And so I was like, okay, real estate, like I can make my own schedule. I'll have time to go to all of my kids' things, which that's true. But you just have to have some balance because when you don't have a boss or someone like looking right over you, you're gonna be trying to be the chaperone to every single field trip, and you just really have to find that balance and what works for you.
So then you found yourself just breaking your own rules. It sounds to me like as you became your own boss, then you just decided to give yourself every day off or something like that, right? Which is something that I know at the
Yeah, that
offices
can
usually
happen.
people joke around that, but it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah.
So walk us through how your day to day looks like now with everything you got going on, because based on everything that I've been getting to know you a little bit more, I know that you wanna grow your own business, you wanna expand, you wanna start attracting more people to your organization, which in return it's gonna be eventually more work until you can figure out how to systemize yourself. So what is a normal day for you looking like nowadays compared to what it was before?
Yeah, so I try and separate my days kind of into like theme days. So like Mondays, I
Okay.
know that it's gonna be looking at offers or sending, checking up on offers that were sent over the weekend. But I try and keep Mondays as to like an admin day where I start the day and
Yeah.
I'm focusing on a lot of the back end stuff that I want to get done before the week starts. So I try and get those type of things done sooner in the week. And then doing things with the brokerage, helping agents that have, needed help throughout the weekend, those type of things. And then Tuesday and Wednesdays are also either going to be, depending on what's going on in the business, um, doing working from home type situations, unless I have, which when I say work from home, that's like office time. Um, I will go into the office as needed. A lot of our stuff is on Zoom, so we can do that from anywhere, even if I'm on vacation somewhere. Being able to hop on a Zoom call is awesome. And then making, days that are more specific to growing my real estate business. Um, if that's like prospecting, meeting with clients. I try and kind of schedule it out that way. And then I put time into prospecting that is like agent focused towards agent attraction or, social media videos or ways for in growth on that level. And then try as best as possible by Friday, Saturday, Sunday to where it's a little bit more like me time or family time. Of course, phone calls are happening on the weekends, but I think the more like prepared, the more systems that are in place, then it gives me like freedom on those weekend days. Which,
So could you
as a
say
new
that this is like
agent,
your dream?
I was just gonna
Yeah, you were
add, like
saying as a new agent.
as a new agent, you have
Hmm.
showings on the weekends, um, and
Sure.
so expect that. Like, I did that for a long time, and if there are, showings that come up like on the weekends, I can go and do those as well. So I just wanted to, that's like an ideal, place to be at. But, showings are on the weekends and usually, in the evenings when people are off work. So it doesn't always work out that way, but
Could you say that right now? And I know we can always do better, right? But could you say right now that you're living your dream, building your dream? How do you describe the certain season that you're in your business?
yes, yeah, I am obviously continuing to grow, but I'm very happy with where I'm at. And now I can see other avenues and things, income streams that I can go into, ways to get back more time, with systems and processes. It really has just given a clear vision and the emotional part, something that we talked about at Pactivate, when you have a process and you follow that process for every single client, every single time, there's no room for emotions in that. And I wish that I would have learned that earlier and put processes and systems in place and not been as like, oh my gosh, this fell apart. So now this happened. And now my day, like that was, my expectation now is down back, is at zero. And now it's like affecting other parts of my business. So that was a big lesson that I had to learn.
So if there was a way that you can describe that to yourself on day one, like if you had an opportunity to just talk to your day one, how do you describe what you just said right now to her?
Oh yeah, that's a great question and a way to frame that. I would say don't take things personally. There's people are who people are, and if you have a process in place and treat this as not just a job, not just a career, but you're building, something much bigger than just a job or just getting out of being a bartender, like you're building something that's going to be sustainable and have systems, have processes, and stay true to what you told yourself you're going to do, then you're going to be okay.
Now, did you have someone in your corner as you're building this, or was it? I mean, of course, you said that you surrounded yourself around people from like the office and new environments, but through all this in your personal life, did you have people like that were cheering you on as you're going through the struggles of not knowing what to do, or was it you on your own with your kids?
I had family that were there to help, but really it was just me. I know that I had like support and everyone, in my family was very supportive and helpful, but it was a lot of figuring it out and doing it on my own. I early on I didn't have a mentor And so I think that's, I would definitely encourage, if you're a newer agent, to have a mentor, to have someone that you can look up to. It'll just help like expedite how well in the business that you will be able to do. But um really until the last like 2 years, I didn't have like that one person or someone that I felt like I could really like be myself around. I definitely had, bosses or other agents that I kind of like looked up to, but not that like very, very. I think though that also I was pretty, well, I was when I was a younger, newer agent, a young mom, like just figuring myself out, I was kind of surface level in a lot of the things that I did. And I don't know if it's just with like, growing up and age and experience, I realized I was kind of living or very kind of surface level, and I wasn't allowing myself to open up to other people. Or kind of like I would have like trust, and I kind of just wanted to stay to myself a little bit, I think. And I only can see that now by like reflecting back on that and seeing how I was kind of going about situations. And I can tell now that I was get some trust, my walls were up, I wasn't super comfortable letting a lot of people letting people in. So
So you could you
that was
say that you
another
were
hurdle.
coach? So was it that you believe you were not coachable, or you just didn't trust people? Because I've seen uh, one or the other on people where sometimes they're just not coachable, right? But then there's the other people that they just cannot trust a single soul to be able to guide them or walk them through whatever it is that they need help on.
Yeah, I think it was probably a little bit of both. And then also I just didn't have I didn't really have someone that was a coach or a mentor that was for like a long, even just a longer period of time than just meetings here and there, like seeing them. I really didn't get into like coaching or having a mentor for most of my real estate career. And so I think that was part of it, but then also part of it was just like not wanting to let people in because of, being disappointed in the past, or just feeling maybe judgment. And so I feel like that went back to knowing who you are, and figuring those things out. If there is someone like, that is willing to, like yourself, you know, come up and have a conversation and share this beautiful space that you have, then I should be able to, see the good in that, or be able to feel comfortable with someone to share things, and not feel like I'm going to be judged, or whatever kind of like limiting beliefs or thoughts that can pop into your head. And so I think there was like a lot of growth in learning that about myself, and letting people in.
They say that usually change comes, and we use this as well when it comes to closing a sale or a transaction, right? People are either driven by either pain or pleasure. And can you think of a situation that maybe was so painful enough, or was it for you always the bigger picture, the bigger dream that helped you can say, transition over the old self to the new self? Was it more on the pain side, or was it more on the pleasure side that just helped you get out of your own way, you could say?
Yeah, I think that I would say it was probably, I went through some personal things that I kept to myself for a long time. And so I think that I just had to get, get through that and let that go, and see that the beauty and the and not like physical beauty, but just the beauty of life and how much life there is to live. And if you're still stuck in, a period of your life that you just feel like you're not really able to push past, um, even, things that back, to forgiving yourself for mistakes that you've made or just trusting yourself. Um, I would say it was, a lot of hard times and not really knowing what direction to go, but just believing in myself that it's possible and there's so much more life ahead of you. Kind of like pushed me to that next level. And it was either like you're going to keep doing the same things that you're doing, or you're going to have to make the maybe, the uncomfortable. Everyone says, like growth is in the uncomfortable times that you have to put yourself in, right? Uncomfortable situations. And sometimes, I think a lot of the times I was just like shying away from those completely, instead of trusting myself that I can do it and having the confidence. And one thing that I learned was, about failure and that I wanted to share was the opportunities that you don't take, you're not gonna get confidence in yourself if you're not taking those opportunities. And even if you try something new, you have an idea that want to try, but a lot of the times we just don't get around to it for whatever reason. Because, you might be afraid to fail at it. You don't want to be embarrassed if you, go into a new career and you might think that if I do this and I share it with the people around me and I fail, that's going to be really embarrassing. Or, I have people that look up to me and I don't want to disappoint them or whatever, that might be. Um, I learned that, that is failure. Not trying at all is failure. But if you try, and even if you make some mistakes and it doesn't turn out exactly what you expected, as long as you can learn from that, then that's the beauty in it. Even if it maybe didn't turn out how you wanted to in that moment, it might not have been the right time. As long as you can take like one thing to learn from that, then it's not a failure.
Hey, there's Jose Alvarez. I hope you're enjoying the Journey podcast by Collect the Closers. Many entrepreneurs are always messaging me about how do I backbite my time? And that's where our favorite sponsor comes into the picture, Q4 Workspace. If you're looking for system support, executive assistants, editors, graphic designers, cold callers, basically anyone that can help you backbite your time and really enjoy the freedom of your business, they're the people to call. Not only can they find the right support, but they can also train and create an operating system that will give you your time back and help you grow your business along the way. So make sure that you go to q4workspace.com or just hit the link below so you can grab more information and start enjoying life a little bit more and not letting go of your business.
It's so interesting you say that because I don't know if you remember, but from the beginning, one of the things that I was sharing from our principles is with collective closers is that we have to believe first. We have to close, like the closing starts within. And it's interesting because I know that a lot of times we as human beings, sometimes we have to sell ourselves on something we're trying to sell. So have you ever found yourself where you're doing something that deep down inside, it could be true, but you still have doubts and you have to sell yourself first on how to be able to push through every day? Do you still experience that? Did that ever happen to you, and then where?
Yeah, that has definitely happened to me a lot, and it still happens. The difference is in the past, like I was explaining, I just wouldn't um wouldn't pursue it, wouldn't even try. Now I have the confidence in myself that I know if it's meant to be for me and I put in the efforts and the work that I need to, it will work out how it's supposed to. And that doesn't mean that that's maybe how I envision it or how I want it to, but it's going to work out however it was supposed to. And if I know that I'm putting the effort and believe in myself, then that's the part that I have control in. And whatever that outcome is what it is. And learning from that, shifting, being able to come up with a solution quickly. Um, but you have to, believe in yourself, like you said, have the faith in yourself and not have expectations that this is the only outcome. I think um, the less amount of expectations that you can have on something, the more freeing that yourself, the faith that you have in yourself is. So that's how I would kind of explain that. And it definitely still happens, all the time. And I think the more you know yourself, you can prepare as much as you want or try and used to overthink things a lot or overanalyze something, but just having that faith in yourself and believing like no matter what happens, you're still gonna keep moving forward.
It's interesting you say how we just have to keep moving forward, because I know that there's going to be people watching this that they're probably going through that season right now. So let's give our listeners something that they can actually go and do, because like I understand when it comes down to uh going through growth, right? We have to first be right. I think we've all learned that through a lot of the communities that we're a part of, is first you be, which it sounds to me like you became that person. And then what are the things, the specifics that you will say that you must do? So like right now, what are like your non-negotiables, as you may know them as, right? Some people think about four things, three things, two things that they have to do in the day. So for you in this stage of your life, what are things that you just must do every single day, business, personal, maybe a mix of both, so that way we can give our listeners something that they can take action on today?
Yeah, so I think there's three things that I really try and focus on every day. The first one being mindset, whether that's saying affirmations, journaling in the morning, but I really take the personal time for myself in the morning because for me, I know that that is going to give me one, a great start to my day. But also for me and my schedule, that's where it fits in. So I know if I can do that first thing in the morning, then it's already done. That is going to a workout or a gym time in the morning if I can, kind of basically before starting my day as a mom and my day as a real estate agent and a broker. I'm me and I'm taking that time for myself first. So I think that's super, super important is taking the time for yourself in the morning. A tip that I'll give you that has really helped me is not picking up your phone first thing in the morning. When we pick up our phones and our business is on our phone. Social media is like just a swipe, and we're on social media consuming all of this information from the outside world and our friends and even strangers. And it can really impact the tone that is set for that day, depending on what pops up on your phone. And so that has been really helpful for me is to not pick up my phone first thing in the morning. And then skill set is the second thing that I would say to make sure you have during your day. Right after mindset, I take my kids to school and then I'm getting right into skill set. So whatever that looks like for you in the business that you're in, if that's role play or script practice or competence of the business and what you have going on that day, but skill set. So making sure that you're learning something. Even real estate agents that have been in the business for 20 plus years, I don't know, there's always something new and perfecting your craft. so that you have the confidence to go out there and share it with everyone. And then prospecting is the third part that I want to make sure that I get to every day.
So
So
you
if you
say that your
can
business
kind
is
of,
primarily, is it primarily new business, referral business? Like what are like your, you could say one, two, three lead sources if you have any.
yeah, I would say referrals and referrals is probably the biggest one. Networking, meaning word of mouth, meeting a even another business owner, and being able to get some referrals, be able to collaborate together. So that would be number one. And then number two would be social media. And not necessarily for me, it's not a social media video that goes viral. Um, I do have social media presence and it's something that is a part of my business, but really social media and the way that I'm seeing clients from social media is meeting new people and adding them on my social media. And then just being in front of them, sharing the business. Then they think of me when they think of real estate. And so I have people that I met 4 years ago that I didn't directly sell to them, but they know I'm a real estate agent. And now they just DM'd me and said, hey, my grandfather's house is in a trust. And they wanted to set up the listing appointment. So I know social media looks different for everyone, and sometimes it's the videos, everyday posting, which I think is great. But sometimes also it's just being that pillar of education and letting people know that you're a real estate agent, staying in front of them.
That right there that you said right now is what I like to call a ninja move, meaning that you're generating an opportunity when others may not even know that's an opportunity. So I think that's brilliant. I think that sometimes using social media as a way to what it was intended for, which is connecting with people, kind of makes sense. And it seems like a lot of people forget that. I've seen it many times where people are like talking to people, and I'm like, well, have you sent them or an invitation to your Instagram or wherever it is that they use the most? And it's so interesting to see that they definitely don't.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that right there. And I think I'm gonna actually gotta put that here on my note. That's like a ninja move that I think everyone that is watching this should go and do right away. Now, Courtney, what does it mean right now for you when you hear the word growth? Like, what does growth means to you right now in this new season that you're in? Because everyone kept telling me, "Oh, she's in leadership. She's attracting more people. She's selling real estate." Like, for you, what would growth? How could you describe growth on your next level?
Yeah, so when you say that to me, growth looks like it's very personal in that I want to continue growing and being as authentic to myself as possible, and continuing the self-awareness and self-reflection. And I think that my younger self, I was doing a lot of things that I just thought like we were supposed to do, or I don't know, there's so much information that we get at a young age or when we're starting a new career and you try and latch onto all of it. But kind of to what I was saying in the beginning is, growth to me is just discovering more about myself and how I can be as aligned with my purpose as possible, and figuring that out. And so I think growth is just figuring it out. And then, the business comes along with that. When you are authentic to yourself, people see that without you having to say that. So that's really like the biggest part of growth that I'm really excited about right now is just becoming a better version of myself, and doing that every single day is exciting. And if I can, share my story
And
and it impacts
sure.
someone or they relate to something, that can hopefully just like shift your mindset. Like I like to, when I'm talking with people or listening to other people, I'm very observant and I notice what's going on, and sometimes I can be very quiet and I'm just like processing everything. And then there's, times where you have to step into your leadership a little bit more and be a little more vocal, be vulnerable, and just be open to the next thing that, like, this I would have never imagined, that this a podcast, I'd be on a podcast. And so that's amazing, but you have to be open for what's like meant for you, and it's going to happen.
And it's interesting you say that because I do remember you mentioned that you used to be the quiet one. Actually, when I heard you speak, you said that you were
Hmm.
always the one in the back of the room and hiding from anyone. I mean, what changed? What happened? I mean, how did you go from being at the back of the room to
Yeah.
now being in front of the room because you were in the stage?
Yeah. I It was, just not being confident in speaking up or my voice, and I would overthink things, and I wanted to make sure that the what I thought in my head was coming out clearly, and that I really wanted to express what I was thinking or feeling in a clear way. And sometimes when I would speak up or like use my voice, it was not coming out the way that I wanted it to, because I think I was overthinking things. I was worried about, is it going to come out right? And so I just made the decision to slowly take some steps out of your comfort zone. And then that's how you build confidence. It's in the mistakes that you make and trying again is when you're building that confidence level up. So it's just like taking small steps every day to build that momentum, and then just knowing yourself. So I realized in situations where I was going into my shadow, and that's the easy thing to do, right? Like, I'm comfortable there. I don't feel like I'm going to make a mistake, but realizing like there's just so much more. I have so much to share, and I do believe that what I have to say is important. Um, Changed kind of, all of that.
Now, where do you see yourself 5, 10 years from now? Like, where do you see yourself? Let's say 5 years from now. Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, I see myself having the career that really gives me the flexibility to do all the things that I, want to do with traveling, having the support within my business that I can lean on and not feel like I'm doing everything on my own. I definitely want to grow my organization. I want to, investments are definitely something in the near future, hopefully sooner than 5 years. But that's kind of like the next step for me, is getting into, residual income from investment properties.
Nice, nice. Now, if someone was listening to us right now and they're afraid of getting started in either the real estate business or just betting on themselves, what is one thing that you would just share with them that you believe can make an impact?
I would encourage you to think about where you're at and what your life looks like if you don't if you don't go all in on yourself. And, think about that. Are you going to be happy with that? Are you going to feel fulfilled? Are you going to feel like you're living your purpose? And, kind of what is the risk if you don't take this opportunity? What is your life going to look like in 2 years if you don't make the decision now? And then in 2 years, what does your life look like? Now if you didn't make the choice, you're still possibly in the same position you were in, and not just position with a career, but in your life. And 2 years just passed where you could have already taken that step and could have went all in on yourself. So that would be my advice. Kind of, reflect and see like what life are you passing up if you don't make that choice for yourself.
Well, life you're sacrificing, right? That's well said. And our last question, Courtney. I mean, again, thank you for just being here with us. I do believe that with someone that is watching this, we're gonna be able to help either maybe a thought or maybe just creating a space for them to feel comfortable to eventually even saying, you know what, I do remember at one point I heard this podcast and I'm not the only one feeling this way. So my last question is if there's if we usually like to end and ask people that anywhere we meet through our collective closures community already and just people that even come through our teams or through our door, if there's one thing that you had to close yourself on, like meaning convince yourself on, that could have been at the early age of your career or maybe even right now, is there something that you had to close yourself on so that you can have this massive improvement of your life, your finances? What is that? Like, what is the biggest uh, thing you close yourself on so that way you can start seeing this growth that you're experiencing right now?
Yeah, I would say I had to close myself on uh, believing that I am enough, believing that I do have a lot to share, and believing that I have important things to share. So, when I was younger, growing up, I was never like the smart one. I was never told like you're smart, you're gonna do amazing things. It was very like based on superficial things, I think, and so I really did have to close myself and say that you are a leader, you are, have important things to share, and you're going to make an impact. And just believing that in myself. So I did have to really close myself on that.
And definitely you did, and thanks to that now we get to have this opportunity to connect with you. Not only that, I do know that we are going to be sharing a message that I think someone out there is going to need, and it's going to be grateful to you for being able to just connect in this fashion and for us to be able to help someone else just move the needle a little bit forward. So again,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
for
much.
doing
Thank
this
you.
with us. We really appreciate that. How can they find you? How can they connect with you? Do you want to share your social media, or I mean, if they have a
Yeah,
question,
yes,
who do
absolutely.
you open your door to? I mean, just this is a space for now. You allowing someone else if maybe they want to have a quick question that they can go ahead and reach out.
Hmm.
How do they do that?
Yeah, I definitely encourage anyone that wants to reach out, please. I'm probably most active on Instagram, so it's livin LIVIN underscore 303. Also on Facebook, but I would say the best way to contact me would be on Instagram. And please, feel free to message me, send me a friend request. If you have any questions or just something that you wanted to share or something going on with your career or life overall where you kind of need some just like a little guidance on or some clarity on, please, I'm definitely open to having a conversation and I would really love that.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you very much. And thank you for being our first guest here at The Journey.
Thank you.
We're
It's a
excited for
beautiful
this. And
podcast
again,
and
we're just so grateful that, thank you. Thank you.
thank
We know we're
you.
going to help a lot of people start their journey or just improve their journey along the way. So stay tuned for more episodes. And make sure that if you have not subscribed, subscribe because it is a brand new channel and we're going to be having a lot of amazing guests. So that way we can just help you push the needle forward just a little bit more every single time.
I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and don't forget if there's more business owners out there, make sure you send it to them because we're all helping each other.